This isn't a fictional narrative or TV show. The events that took place in the courtroom were intense and genuine. Remy Ma did more than simply lose her anger. She broke down in front of the jury, the judge, and everyone else there. Additionally, 50 Cent was the one who started it. Yes, that's 50 Cent. He didn't show up to resolve a rap feud or attend a performance. He arrived to provide testimony in the murder case of Remy Ma's own adolescent son. Additionally, his remarks totally undermined her case. People are now inquiring, what did 50 know? He was in court, but why? And how could his simple words completely append everything? Ignore what you've seen on television. Well, this show wasn't really dramatic. It was explosive and it was real life. People were already talking about this trial. However, when 50 took the stand, it became something that no one anticipated. There was tragedy at the beginning of it all. Staten Island, Remy's 14-year-old kid was discovered shot next to a warehouse. The incident was first dismissed as just another instance of street violence. However, rumors began to circulate. People claimed that there were links to cover-ups, rap game, revenge, and gang activities. Then, things became much more complicated. A few communications between Remy and a person with significant street connections were exposed. Strange codes, such as "handle it before it spreads," were used in the communications. Furthermore, he knows too much. Prosecutors weren't impressed by Ree's legal team's assertion that the texts didn't indicate anything suspicious. Then the time arrived that completely upended everything. Prosecutors unexpectedly brought a surprise witness to testify. They said that before the murder, someone spoke privately with Remy. It came out that the individual was 50 Cent. People initially believed it to be a prank. Why would 50 Cent appear in court for this? He did so in a gray suit, looking composed, cool, and self-assured. All of a sudden, nobody was laughing. The entire atmosphere altered as 50 entered the courtroom. The room fell silent. Even the security personnel remained still. Remy's attorneys appeared anxious. Sitting a few seats behind her, Papoose gazed at the ground. Additionally, Remy displayed little emotion. Not yet, anyhow. He was given a single straightforward question by the prosecutor. Have you ever heard Remy Ma complain that her son knows too much about her company? 50 halted, leaned closer, and spoke two words that put an end to everything. She did. It only required that. The whole courtroom exploded at the sound of two words. Remy's attorneys sprang to action, yelling about rumors and attempting to limit the harm. However, the harm had already been done. Someone in the courtroom said that Remy muttered, "He's lying." However, her hands were trembling. This was no longer only rumors. This actually happened. Additionally, things were about to become worse. You see, 50 and Remy are more than just casual business associates. Their background is lengthy and complex, filled with history, friction, and problems with trust. According to others, 50 was there to exact retribution. Some claim that he is speaking the truth and is unconcerned about the outcome. In any case, his testimony was powerful and impactful. If the 50's statement that Remy was concerned her baby could talk is accurate, then being a strict parent isn't. The only issue here? It suggests a purpose. Additionally, motivation might make all the difference when you are on trial for murder. The surprises, however, didn't end there. According to a court document that was obtained following 50's testimony, Remy allegedly texted someone with a terrifying remark: "If he talks, it's over for all of us." That added to the gloom, too. Who are we? Was it simply Papoose and her? Or was it something far more significant? The internet took off. Everybody had a hypothesis. Papoose may have known more than he said, according to some. Others thought this had something to do with the long-running turmoil in the music industry. As if the chaos wasn't enough, surveillance video came to light. It revealed Remy's vehicle close to the shooting site at 3 in the morning, something her team had not brought up in her initial alibi. Who do you think leaked that video? Source purportedly associated with a person in the 50 circle. Things became more heated after they were back in the courtroom. Outside, fans were yelling, some in support of Remy and some against her. On the steps of the courthouse, protesters were arguing. Even her SUV was spray painted with "Guilty Mother." He didn't accompany her on the journey home either, Papoose. He drove off in another vehicle, not making eye contact. No farewell. Recording was the next twist. Days after the murder, a cleaner who worked at Remy and Papoose's residence said she recorded a furious dispute. A male can be heard saying, "You promised to handle it cleanly." 50s are now speaking on the stand. The lady, who is purportedly Remy, responds, "I instructed him to keep his mouth shut. He subjected himself to this." The court ordered a thorough inquiry, even though Ree's side claimed the footage was a fabrication, and additional proof surfaced as they waited. Large sums of money were sent around in the weeks before the murder, according to Remy's bank records. Many of the payments were made through offshore shell corporations, while others were referred to provide security or secret services. This prompted more inquiries. And who else was involved? Is she making a payment to someone? If so, what is the reason? Online users went crazy at the same time. Everywhere, hashtags like #50 got receipts, and hashtag Remy exposed were trending. It was being covered by news stations, podcasts, and rap blogs. Celebrities also shared their thoughts. Cardi B claimed that everything seemed dubious. Fat Joe just shared a picture of a prayer without a caption. This was an obvious message. This was more than a single instance. And Remy delivered the greatest bomb of all just when it seemed like there was no more mystery left. She leaned over to Papoose as the day's court adjourned and murmured something so icy and passionate that the court reporter momentarily paused, typing. "You said he'd never talk." She said then everything was different. It was all verified in just one statement. 50's remarks weren't only unexpected. They were treacherous, and in real time, Ree's world was coming apart. Despite her lawyer's best efforts, the harm was too great. The judge refused to dismiss testimony from the 50's. Rather, he stated that it would remain in place if more evidence confirmed it. And there's more proof, people, much more. This is no longer only about Remy Ma. This is about secrets, power, and the point at which everything falls apart. The entire room was rocked by one testimony. The consequences are only now starting to materialize. She didn't just go in silence. After destroying everything, she gave the press the fragments as a present. As if the situation couldn't be any more dramatic, Jasmine Dior made a spectacular reappearance. I take it you remember her? The flamboyant woman who is never silent. Wearing a long red trench coat and carrying what seemed to be a journal, she appeared outside the courthouse. Not just any notepad either. It was allegedly owned by Remy Ma's deceased son. It was filled with ominous ideas, anxieties, and cautions, according to Jasmine. The chillest element, however, was a single statement on a sheet that said, "Don't trust her if anything happens to me." That was like a blow to the chest for everyone. Remy's legal team immediately attempted to get it dismissed. They said it was fabricated and placed to undermine her case. However, prosecutors had it confirmed. They provided evidence that the handwriting matched her son's prior notes, which were verified by his therapist and school. That journal turned out to be pivotal. Let's figure this out. Secret recordings from Remy's home, bank papers connecting her to dubious payments, 50 Cent's shocking testimony, and now a diary entry from the victim himself. Her defense of innocence is beginning to unravel entirely. Then, things became even more bizarre. Her spouse Papoose disappeared. Kay ceased attending court. No social media posts or justifications. Silence. No updates. His team began to be pursued by the media for explanations, but they received none. A handwritten letter purportedly from Papoose was then shared without warning. It was sent to a journalist in the Bronx anonymously. "I tried to protect my family," the letter said. "I never imagined it would get to this point. We both fall if she does." People began questioning. Was Papoose turning against her? Right away, the internet went into overdrive after that single leak. TikToks were being created on an hourly basis. Fans were playing out scenes. Background music, simulated tears, and other elements are added to courtroom situations. Old tunes began to resurface in the meantime. Streams increased by more than 300%. 'Cause, let's be honest, a scandal this size garners more attention than anything else. However, the attention was accompanied by criticism. Civil rights organizations began to inquire as to why celebrity trials were receiving all the attention while regular victims hardly received any. Others said that the prosecution was using 50 Cent for publicity rather than for the sake of justice. However, additional information continued to surface, which only made Remy's situation worse. Near the end of the trial, one of the most startling allegations was made. Remy Ma was connected by the prosecution to an underground organization that covers up crimes for celebrities and the wealthy. They said that the individual who deleted the warehouse film and her son's phone had assisted in the cover-up of another rapper issue years prior. This was about more than one individual now, concerned an entire hidden system. The judge seems frightened as well. If even half of this is true, she's going away forever, a hot mic said to him during a recess. That told you everything. And the trial did precisely when it appeared that it could not get any more twisted. Tasha Denaro, a member of Remy's close group, was the next witness to come forward. She was formerly a dear friend and Remy's helper. Remy really phoned her family once. However, the allegiance vanished that day. Tasha carried a single sheet of paper as she entered the courtroom dressed entirely in black. She made no hesitation. She said quite clearly, "I was afraid, so I kept quiet." However, that boy's fate wasn't an error. It wasn't arbitrary. It was organized. The whole courtroom froze at that. Tasha said that Remy had a secret meeting 2 weeks before the murder. Papoose was also present. They discussed how her kid was looking through her drawers, reading documents, and posing potentially embarrassing questions. Then Tasha said the sentence that made all the difference. "I might lose everything if he continues talking." That's when Remy finally snapped. She screamed, "No more tough talk or icy stares," with actual excruciating tears. A 15-second audio clip of it was released by someone inside the court. That short video now has over 2 million views online under the hashtag #RemyBreaks. Atmosphere outside the courthouse was chaotic. Some of the protesting fans yelled, "Free Remy! Justice is being demanded by others." One man even shouted, "Tasha," after 50 Cent. Who comes next? Beyonce? There was mayhem. And then, yet another surprise. Papoose returned at last. No gaudy chains, no wedding band. He took a seat as a witness. He nodded in response to the question of whether he attended that covert meeting. He replied in the affirmative when asked if Remy had warned that her son's actions may destroy her. Remy appeared as though everything had fallen apart. She was hearing things she couldn't believe. Papoose also had the trial's coldest response when they questioned him about why he was now testifying. "Even though I loved her, I wouldn't go to jail for her." Now, the quote is widely used. It's a meme. It's even being incorporated into rap songs and placed on t-shirts. The prosecutors abruptly put their case on hold. No more surprises, no more proof is required. They left the courtroom composed and self-assured. Remy's group made an effort to resist. They contacted former acquaintances to affirm that she was a devoted mother. They put the blame on the demands of celebrity, but the harm had already been done. The jurors had witnessed much too much. 50 startling claims. Remy's son's diaries, her own messages, covert recordings, a former assistant's defamatory remarks. and now her own husband's betrayal. Guilt or innocence was no longer at issue in this trial. It concerned treachery, power, and legacy. The world awaited the jury's eventual return. But don't worry, it's not finished yet. We'll reserve the final decision for the following tale. We'd like to hear from you now. Was justice served? Was 50 Cent correct to raise his voice? Is Papoose attempting to survive? Or is he a traitor? Because the next chapter in this story is already underway, and the next name being pulled into this is far larger than Remy Ma. Please express your opinions in the comments below, and remember to like, share, and follow. Keep an eye out.